Well, welcome to Ravensdale Bible Academy. Today's course is Think Again Christian Fact Checking. And today's slide or today's lesson is on the problems with hate crimes. Evil is evil regardless of your race. So the question that the picture of Ben Shapiro raises is a good question. It's an honest question. There's a problem with the term hate crimes. Why? Because evil is evil, and it doesn't matter what the race is. And so that's what we want to look at. We want to take a look today and really ask that question, is evil just evil? Or is there worse evil? Is crime against a race, a religion, an identity, is that worse? Is that a worse thing? Ben Shapiro is a radio talk show host and really a leading figure in kind of processing political ideology and even working that in as a Orthodox Jew. He's very serious about these things of the reality of what true evil is. And at first glance, you may not like this statement. At first glance, this may just, you think of those atrocities. Again, keep in mind, Ben Shapiro's a Jewish man, so he's very familiar with hate speech, with hate ideology, with people who do not like a particular race, the Jews. It's probably the most hated race on the face of the earth, right? And so the problem with hate crimes is, well, yeah, you know what? At first glance, it is an absolutely horrifying thing that the German nation, the Germans, would isolate Jews and put them in concentration camps, that the Nazis would target Jews. It's scary to think that the Romans, the Italians would focus on sending a religion, the Christians to the Colosseum to be eaten by lions, right? Horrifying to think. Terrible to think that the white Ku Klux Klan members in the South would lynch black people. It's disgusting. Absolutely disgusting. And it's wicked. Make no mistake about it. It's evil. But at second glance, when we reevaluate these stories, isn't hate just hate? And evil is just evil and terrible? I mean, is there a moral difference between black on black crime or, attacks on homosexuals or Muslims? I mean, does that make it okay if it is black on black crime, or if it was two Muslims killing each other or two homosexuals killing each other? Does that just not make it as bad? Well, in the Bible is not silent on evil. The Bible is not silent on murder. In Genesis chapter 4, we see that Cain murders his brother. Cain murders his brother. They're the same family. They're the same race. Does that make it any less horrifying that a brother would kill his own brother? Of course, it's a terrible, tragic event. Should he be less guilty because it was his brother, because they're the same race? Of course not. And so God clearly identifies murder as murder. Thou shalt not murder. It doesn't say thou shalt not murder if it's somebody of the different race. No, we're not supposed to murder anybody. The book of Leviticus really lays out a lot of the individual accidental crimes and purposeful crimes that one might commit on their neighbor. And you know what? The idea that it's race related never comes up. It's all bad. It's all a violation. It's all sin. And so we see and we understand that God values all people, all nations. There's neither Jew nor Greek. There's neither Jew nor Gentile. We're not competing against one another. And in fact, one of the interesting things in the Bible is, well, everybody's coming out of the same area. When Noah comes off the ark, there's 8 people. Everybody comes from Noah and his family, right? So the idea of race is more of an idea of culture, not skin color. We have to be very careful about that. Well, when we evaluate this more carefully, we want to look at things like the words, right? So what is hate? What does hate mean? What's a crime? What are these terms, right? And do we actually have quote unquote hate crimes? Well, yeah, when you identify them in a certain category, we see that the FBI and seems like, look, we take this serious. We take it seriously that there are crimes that seem to be induced by some kind of hatred for a certain particular group. And so the reason for the hate crime laws is to prevent future crimes with stricter punishments, to stop it. Well, that's a good idea, right? I mean, I hope and wish that we would never have another, homosexual dragged to the streets, or, a black man lynched, or a Christian or a Muslim that would be we don't want any of that. But again, the idea is misguided, and part of my concern and part of Ben Shapiro's concern regarding this idea of the problem with hate crimes is, well, evil's evil regardless of the race. But a secondary problem is, aren't we perpetuating the hating of another race by highlighting that? And so instead of just saying that, look, there was a tragic murder today in our city because of a crime. Okay, that's a terrible thing. We don't want crime. We don't want murder. But when I say, look, a black man killed a white woman, does that not perpetuate a stereotype? Does that not perpetuate the anger that a man killed a woman, that a black man killed a white woman, that a black Muslim killed a white Christian, that a black man killed a white lesbian? Listen, this just elevates the hatred for other races. It doesn't help it to go away. It's a very, very dangerous concept that we're using. And so they say that, well, the reason why we have to do it this way is because the extent of hate crimes is different than another crime. It's different in these 4 ways. And I want you to think about this. I want you to visualize that you had a crime performed against you with somebody who's just like you. Okay? And see if this would have an effect on you, or if it can only be this way if it's somebody who's not like you. And so the effects of hate crimes extends beyond the individual. It's not just the person. If you hurt me, you hurt my wife, you hurt my kids, right? It hurts them too. Okay, that's true. There's no doubt that in a traditional hate crime that is going to affect my children as well. It's going to affect the individual. It's going to affect me. But again, it's the same thing if it's somebody who has the same exact identity as me. It's going to affect me and my family. The second part is it's going to affect the targeted group. So I am well, I bet you don't even know what I am. Now, there's another interesting thought. Who am I? What religion am I? Do you know what religion I am by just looking at me? Do you know what race I am just by looking at me? Do you know what identity I am by just looking at me? No, no, no. Well, I am a Christian, Mexican American, loving husband. Okay, does that help? But I have a group, right? So if you attack me, are you attacking my group? You're attacking my group as far as my family, but not as a generic group. But By attacking me in this hate crime, you make my group vulnerable. The entire group of my group is now vulnerable. It's not just an isolated incident with me and this individual in the back alley. It has to include the vulnerability of my group. We all have groups. Everybody has a group. So I don't know how a hate crime specifically would identify or protect my vulnerable group. And then the fourth reason why a hate crime needs to exist is because it extends again to the community at large. So it goes from my tight vulnerable group to even a bigger community. And then it creates in the community at large a fear, a depression, and an anxiety. And so I ask the question again, is a hate crime specific to just two different races? Or do these things not apply to black on black crime? When a young black man in Chicago kills another young black man in Chicago, is not the individual affected? Is not the targeted group affected? Is not the group vulnerable? Is the community at large not afraid and depressed and anxious? Of course. So we shouldn't overlook one group over another group by identifying the one group, right? So we're trying to say that this is a worse crime, that it's a worse crime if a white police officer, right, kills a black person. Well, does it not matter if it's a black police officer? Do we not care then? Is it less of a bad thing? It's very, very important that we go back to our question, because the original question is hate equally hate, right? And we have to get our arms wrapped around, because the way our mind works is we usually think in opposites. And so if one crime is hate, then other crimes are not hate. Other crimes are okay. Other crimes are less hateful. Other crimes are more acceptable. So it's okay if the Nazis go after Germans. It's okay if the Nazis get Corrie ten Boom and her family because they're both white. Does that make it okay? Is it okay if the Romans just throw in Romans into the Colosseum for the Lions? Was that okay then? So okay if the Romans use the German, Goths to the barbarians because, well, they're both white? Is it okay if a white mob goes out and lynches a white person in the streets? Is it less evil? I think not. Look, all crime is horrifying. All crime is horrifying. Hate is hate. Hate is evil. Hate is disgusting and wicked and should be punished. Yes, all this hate and all this crime creates fear and anxiety, and it affects the individual, the group, and the community. So before you isolate crime into the category of hate crime and love crime, think again, Christian.